Daniel Bryan's WWE contract is reportedly up, and he may be free to go wherever he wants. Maybe even AEW tonight, who knows? Shingo Takagi and Will Ospreay had match of the year at Wrestling Dantaku, or did they? Andrade is finally showing up in the wrestling business once again, and reportedly to face Kenny Omega at Triple Mania. We talk about that, WWE being in talks with MLW, AEW potentially being bumped off of Wednesday nights, and so much more on this, the 45th edition of the Chill Spill podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Suplex. That's SOOPLEX on TikTok and SOOPLEXX on Twitch, aka Tyler Kuhn Williams, aka the one who lived. And guys, we are here. We are live for the 45th edition of the Chill Spill podcast, and that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like WWE is regarding this latest report, and that is that Daniel Bryan is reportedly done with the WWE. This dropped yesterday night, like literally right after I went to sleep, so I didn't catch it until I woke up this morning, and I figured this is a really good topic to talk about because I was literally just talking about this on yesterday's episode of the Chill Spill podcast. Guys, we might have to play a clip for you guys right here, right now. But something else I wanted to talk about here was Daniel Bryan. It's not really news, but it's something I wanted to really talk about because it's very interesting. He has insight on how he saw his WrestleMania 37 performance, because Daniel Bryan was in the main event of WrestleMania 37 Night 2 against Roman Reigns and Edge. Daniel Bryan was inserted into the match where Edge won the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan kind of found his way into it. Daniel Bryan had this to say when reporting to BT Sports, and he says, "It's taken me time to fully process what the experience was like because it wasn't like a normal thing," he explained. "It was really weird, like out of a body in it experience, I guess. When I'm wrestling, I feel everything, and I feel like I really enjoy it. This is weird. I was out there, and it felt like I was detached. It was so strange in the fact that before the match started, I got this strange feeling like, is this what it's like before you die? Am I going to die? I was like, well, okay. I don't know why or how it happened, but it was like anything I ever felt while wrestling." He later explained that odd detachment was like, whoa. He said, "Like I said, I'm either going to die, or maybe it's a sign that this isn't, and it isn't, the same type of fulfillment that it was before. I've been trying to meditate on it and talk to my friends that I'm close with. Hey, what is that?" I'll tell you what that is. WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan main evented against Randy Orton and Batista. Won the WWE Championship. That was the height of his career, was in 2014. 7 years later, Daniel Bryan finds himself similarly in the same predicament where he's in the triple threat match for the main championship, but this time he loses. But he says this is the first time he's ever felt detached. And I can relate to this because I feel the same way about video games. When I was younger, I was a big gamer. I had the Nintendo DS, I had the PS Vita, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 1, Sega Genesis. I had the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the PS4. I had just about any game system a kid could want. GameCube, you name it, I owned it. And I played it for hours and days upon end. So many years, I loved and played video games. Hell, when I first started YouTube, my channel was a gaming channel. It wasn't this channel, but I started off as a gaming channel. I wanted to be a gaming YouTuber. I was inspired by guys like PewDiePie and Dashy Games and Markiplier and so many other names, Toby Games. I was inspired. I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to be a gaming YouTuber. As time went on, I kind of deterred away from that, went into wrestling YouTube because wrestling is also one of my passions. But as I got older, I realized that my fulfillment wasn't coming from video games anymore. I think it was around the age of, I would want to say, 21. I kind of started to fall out of love with video games. There was an attachment there. Whenever I would pick up a game and want to play, I could only play for like a couple hours and then I would stop. The only fulfillment I would get out playing video games was playing a wrestling video game, because it was that attachment to pro wrestling. But outside of that, if it was any other game, I could play for like maybe a few minutes or maybe 30 minutes or an hour if I'm lucky, and then I would just quit because I wasn't really feeling it. There was an attachment where in a few years prior, I could play for hours. But there's two reasons why that attachment happens. The first is depression, which I do suffer from depression. So I wholeheartedly believe it is the first one, mostly the first one. But the second one is loss of passion. The passion I have for video games is just kind of lost now. And there's many other factors that go into that. But I believe that Daniel Bryan, I don't know if Daniel Bryan's depressed. I can't diagnose him. It's not my place to, and I'm not Daniel Bryan. Only he knows if he's depressed. But what I can say is that if he's detached from it, it's mainly because he probably has been in the same place, the same area for 11 years. Daniel Bryan has been with WWE for 11 years now, since 2010. Doing the same thing, wrestling the same people. He probably feels detached because he's done this before. He's been in that WrestleMania main event before. He's won Money in the Bank before. He's been WWE champion. He's been the face of the company. The only thing I can honestly say Daniel Bryan has not done is win the Royal Rumble. But he honestly doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble. Why does he need to win it? When this year proves that he can find himself in a main event of WrestleMania without doing that. There's no need for him to win a Rumble. He can literally do anything else, but he's done everything else. Submission matches, 2 out of 3 fall matches, Iron Man matches, ladder matches, tables matches, you name it, Daniel Bryan has done it. So I think Daniel Bryan is just creatively bored. And maybe as he's getting older, because he's 40 years old now, maybe he's starting to realize that maybe I'm not interested in what I'm doing. And it's not just it's the wrestling is the attachment, because that's what he's been doing for so long, but it's just that he's been in this place for so long that maybe it's time to look for something else to do. And if Daniel Bryan still loves pro wrestling, then obviously the answer is to leave WWE. I think that attachment is just that he doesn't know if he still truly loves WWE or not. He's bored. He doesn't. This is my assumption. I'm not speaking for Daniel Bryan here. I'm not trying to diagnose him, but I can relate. I'm empathetic towards how he feels. I think right now, if I'm Daniel Bryan's friend, like he says, if I'm Daniel Bryan's friend, and I see that Daniel Bryan's contract is coming up later this year, I'm advising that he leaves WWE. I'm advising that he leaves WWE and he freelances for a while, or he goes to Japan, or he goes to AEW, and he tries other things. Because the longer he's in WWE, he might end up being like me and no longer liking pro wrestling anymore. Or he might be like a CM Punk in 2014 and leave pro wrestling forever. CM Punk left WWE in 2014 because WWE beat it out of him. You know, he, much like Daniel Bryan, kind of accomplished everything except being a Royal Rumble winner. I mean, he never main event at WrestleMania. But on top of that, it was mistreatment from the company. The love for WWE was beaten out of him. And it's not the first time I've heard that. You've heard that from so many other guys who leave WWE. Wrestling, their love for wrestling is beaten out of them from that company. And the only way they really get that love back, fuck Jon Moxley, bro. Jon Moxley, when he left WWE and he did that interview with Chris Jericho, he went off on WWE and Vince McMahon. He said that his love for wrestling almost died because of WWE. And the only way he felt like a teenager again, the only way he felt alive again, the only way he got that feeling of feeling like this is what I meant to do again, is by leaving the company and signing with AEW, doing other things like GCW and other indie promotions. That's how he got his love back. I don't know about CM Punk getting his love back, because he obviously left pro wrestling, But Jon Moxley got his love back by doing that. Other wrestlers that I've heard stories of got their love back by pursuing other things. So I think Daniel Bryan just should leave WWE. And I'm not saying that to be some wrestling fan like, oh, I personally want to see him do this in AEW. Like, no, if for your mental health, I think it's best that he leaves the company. Like, I wish there was something that could attach me back to video games, but I don't know what that is. I mean, a few days ago, I played Gang Beasts with my friends, and I had a great time, so maybe that's just it. Maybe it's just that he has to pursue other things and find what his love is again. I think the options are either leave WWE or stop wrestling for a while. I'm not saying he should never go back to WWE. I'm not saying that. I'm saying for at least a year, take time off. Take time off for a year. Because the fact that he was in the main event of WrestleMania, something that guys dream of and never even get to do. He was in the main event of WrestleMania and felt like he was detached from it. Like, am I going to die? That's horrible. That's got to be depression. But that is the sign of somebody who is losing their passion and needs to desperately get it back. And I think the only way he's going to get that back is by leaving WWE. So in that clip, I was talking about how Daniel Bryan was talking about how basically he felt very dejected and he felt very, basically, he felt detached from his match at WrestleMania 37, where he main evented the biggest wrestling show of the year with Roman Reigns and Edge, and he didn't really know how to feel about it. And I'm like, well, that sounds like either depression or he possibly is just disinterested or bored with what he's doing in WWE. I mean, he's reaching the age of 40, not getting any younger. Maybe he's reached that time where it's time to fly away from the cuckoo's nest. Maybe it's time to venture out. And I suggested that he should leave WWE, not as a fan, but just, if I were Daniel Bryan's friend, or if I personally knew Daniel Bryan, that's what I would recommend to him. And what do you know? This report comes out. It was originally reported by Fightful, and I'll read what the article says. Fightful has spoken with sources both inside and outside of WWE that have indicated Daniel Bryan's WWE contract either expired or was set to expire last week after his SmackDown match. Bryan was on a losing end of a WWE Universal title match against Roman Reigns, in which the stipulation he would leave SmackDown if he lost, and was quickly moved to the alumni section. Yes, I actually did catch that. I saw that on Twitter a few days ago. The Daniel Bryan was moved to the alumni section. Now, I, like many of you, probably thought that WWE was just, trying to, play around with the storyline. They were just building up and try to add on to the realism that, oh, Daniel Bryan's done with SmackDown. Where is he going to go? Is he going to go to Raw? Is he going to go to NXT? He did not show up on NXT last night, so and he didn't show up on Raw this week either. So I was like, ooh, well, considering that he took a concerto from Roman Reigns, usually that writes you off for a bit. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're doing an injury storyline. Then he shows up on one of those shows. So maybe it's too early to tell. But continuing on, high-level sources both outside and inside have noted that they've heard of the expiration of the deal, but Bryan has not spoken openly about his contract status that they're aware of. We also hadn't heard of any particular farewells backstage, as if he wasn't going to be around, although that doesn't mean they didn't happen privately. Bryan did an interview with TV Line where they noted that he was tight-lipped about his contract actually ending. And Bryan said the following: "It's funny that people gravitate towards that date, September, and I think it's because that's when my last contract ended, but it doesn't end in September. Note, Bryan was tight-lipped about his contract, I'm trying to figure out what it looks like. I had a tag team match on SmackDown last Friday, and that was a lot of fun, but my neck was just wrecked." We should note that this doesn't mean Bryan is leaving WWE. He hasn't resigned or we don't know how his contract will work. As we're told, he's been vocal about doing some unconventional work with WWE and for WWE, that being in reference to him wanting to work in Mexico and other companies while still being in WWE. Basically similar to how Chris Jericho was in 2018 before they stopped booking him. This wouldn't come as a surprise since he's as such made in interviews. What we can confirm is that several talent within WWE have heard Bryan's contract was set to expire. So, what to read from this is that, as of right now, this is nothing more than a rumor. While this is confirmed by Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez, and confirmed by, Fightful, Sean Ross Sapp, all credible sources, I am only going to see when I believe. Because even though I want nothing more than for Daniel Bryan to leave WWE, both as a fan and personally for him as a person, to leave WWE and venture out and try new things, or, maybe old things that might revitalize his love for pro wrestling again. I am not going to count the fact that this could just be story. I'm not trying to say we're being worked, brother. I'm not saying that necessarily. But I am also taking into account that he was moved to the alumni section last week. And I don't know. Something about this just reads that Daniel Bryan might just be negotiating with them. I mean, if his contract did expire, then he is a free agent technically. But until Daniel Bryan says something or WWE says something. Because remember, when Jon Moxley's contract ended 2 years ago, WWE put out a whole press statement saying that Jon Moxley or John Good was not going to be resigning. We wish him the best. It was this whole weird ordeal when Jon Moxley chose not to resign with WWE as Dean Ambrose. I'm sure you guys remember that whole fiasco. And then he went to AEW. They didn't do this with Daniel Bryan. Or at least they haven't done it yet. But if the reports are correct and his contract ended after a SmackDown match, then you would assume that WWE would have put that statement out maybe on Saturday. There's been no statement from them. There's been no statement from Daniel Bryan. And until we hear from either two sources, I'm just going to assume that Daniel Bryan is still working with WWE. He could be just negotiating with them. But I'm not about to get my hopes up. And I think part of it is also that a lot of these wrestlers, not just Bryan, but many others in the past, have teased going somewhere, but then quickly re-sign with WWE, whether it be for the money or whether it be for financial security, which is money once again. A lot of wrestlers tend to re-sign. And I'm not going to say, I'll be disappointed if Dan Bryan re-signs, because it's Dan Bryan's life, you know what I mean? As a fan, I want to see him do other things, but if he re-signs, he re-signs. If he doesn't re-sign and he goes somewhere else, obviously the big name is AEW. Go to All Elite Wrestling as Bryan Danielson and tear it up down there with names like Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, and so many different new stars to work with. He can go back to Ring of Honor, which wouldn't be like a humongous thing. It would be humongous for Ring of Honor, but not really humongous for Daniel Bryan. He could go to Impact. He can go to, obviously the second for me is New Japan. I worry about Daniel Bryan's, concussion history and next going to New Japan. But imagine that Daniel Bryan versus Okada. That's a dream match right there. Or Daniel Bryan versus Tanahashi. A rematch from 2002. Daniel Bryan versus Tetsuya Naito. Daniel Bryan versus Jay White would be amazing. Daniel Bryan versus so many talent in New Japan would be amazing. The possibilities are endless. Endless. With Daniel Bryan leaving WWE. But that's only if he leaves WWE, because I do not believe for a second that they will allow Daniel Bryan to wrestle elsewhere. I know Daniel Bryan's talked about it in interviews that he personally wants to, try and negotiate a deal with WWE where he can wrestle for Mexico. Well, not wrestle for them. Wrestle in Mexico, wrestle here, wrestle there, and then come back and work WWE. If they did not allow Chris Jericho to do the same thing, why would Daniel Bryan be the exception? And then if Daniel Bryan is the exception, then other wrestlers will want the same exact thing. I'm saying this right now. If Daniel Bryan is the first, he will most likely not be the last to ask about it. I'm not saying he'll be the last to get it. I'm not even saying that he will get it. But he will definitely not be the last to ask about it if they do give it to him. So that in itself, I feel like they probably wouldn't even give it to him. I don't know. There's so much to consider there. If I'm Bryan, I'm leaving. For my mental health, I'm leaving. But I'm not Daniel Bryan. I'm not Bryan Danielson. I just hope he makes the best decision for him and his career and his family. And that's all I can hope for. But as a fan, once again, AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor. Or freelance for a while. When Andrade left, he took about a month off before really even saying anything. Maybe Daniel Bryan might do the same. Maybe he'll take some time off. Maybe this is just his time period to rest and really think about it. Because who's to say he's not going to make his decision like at the end of the month? Like, just because Daniel Bryan's contract's up now doesn't mean he has to say anything. Andrade just did it. Many other wrestlers do that. They got to keep you wondering. They got to keep you asking questions. I bring you back to Jay White earlier this year in New Japan. He lost his match to Kota Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom. And he was like, oh, my contract's up. And he wrestled at New Year Dash, and then he was gone. We didn't see Jay White for the rest of the month, really. We didn't hear from him. Fans like, oh, Jay's going to AEW, Jay's going to WWE, Jay's going here, Jay's going there. And then what do you know, like literally the very first day of February, he's back in New Japan. Which was a little disappointing in my like, you know, as a fan, but it is what it is. So take you back to Jay White earlier this year. This could be the same exact case with Daniel Bryan. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to kill your dreams. But this could be the exact same case. But now we're done talking about Daniel Bryan. Let's talk about New Japan briefly for a second. We had 2 shows this week. We had Wrestling Dantaku Night 1 and Night 2 on May 3rd and May 4th. May 3rd show saw Jay White take on Hiroshi Tanahashi for the IWGP. Well, it's not IWGP technically. For the Never Openweight Championship. They had a 39-minute long match. I watched it on my Twitch live stream yesterday. You guys, make sure you guys start going to my Twitch page, twitch.com/suplex, and go follow me. I'm going to start streaming a lot more over there, just to, you know, creatively get some stuff out. But I watched that match on stream. I thought it was really good. It was definitely, I would say, the best match they've had. I thought there were some points where it just kind of felt plotted. But it was definitely, I would say, the best match they've had in their series. Or maybe I have to rewatch the matches back. I'm not too sure. But I liked that match. It wasn't an outstanding match or anything, but it was really good. Jay White did come out the winner. He is currently our new Never Openweight champion. The only issue I had with this match was the length. This match was 39 minutes. And I went through on stream yesterday on twitch.com/suplex with 2 X's and 2 O's. I went on that stream and I went to Cage Match and I checked the listings for every Never Openweight Championship match in 2020 and 2019. On average, those matches were 15 to 20 minutes. Longest match to that point, I think, might have been 2020, where there was like a 23-minute long match, I think, between Naito and Okada, which I think was even this year. This year, so far, has consisted of the longest Never Openweight Championship matches I've seen, which I'm not a fan of, because Never matches are not supposed to be that long. The concept of the Never title, at least for the last, I would say, decade, I should say, has been hard-hitting, soft-spoken, but all-action type matches. We talk about the Never guys in years past. Your Hiroki Gotos, your Tomohiro Ishiis, your Evils, your Shingo Takages, Taichi, Jeff Cobb, your big, beefy man who can go at you with all the speed, accuracy, and strength and pull out some of the best matches you'll see. That was your Never division. That was your Never division up until the IWGP US Championship disappeared and went to America. And then the IWGP IC and Heavyweight Championship unified. And the Never Championship basically was forced to become a top mid-card championship, or, you know, secondary championships in New Japan. Which I'm not mad at. And in some ways, I'm actually kind of happy, because this means the Never Championship at sea is worth a damn now. You got a guy like a Tanahashi and a guy like a Jay White holding that belt. That makes the championship mean more than when people like Ishii and Goto held it. I'm not trying to knock on Goto and Ishii, but when you have main eventers holding mid-card championships, the title feels more important. It just does. It's the notoriety. It's the value. The value goes up. The value goes up when Tanahashi and Jay White holds the championship. My issue is the length of the matches. Just because it's the main event of a show doesn't mean it has to be 40 minutes long. So hopefully, when we get Jay White versus David Finlay, which I believe Jay White did say he wants to challenge David Finlay next, and David Finlay beat him. And I don't know when that's going to be, because I believe David Finlay is still in the States right now with Juice Robinson wrestling for Impact. Whenever that match is going to be, I hope that match is not 30, 35, 40 minutes. Keep that length at beneath 25 minutes. 25 minutes at the max. I looked back at Wrestle Kingdom 15 this year with one of the greatest matches of the year, Jeff Cobb versus Shingo Takagi. That match is 21 minutes. It did not overstay its welcome at all, in my opinion. That's like that golden time slot. 20 to 25 minutes should be these matches. Jay White had a 48-minute long match with Kota Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom 15 this year. And though it is, in my opinion, the best match of the year, an outstanding match, I still think they could have shaved 10 minutes off that match. And a lot of fans, though they liked the match, critiqued as well the length of the match. 48 minutes, it should never go that long. They just want to break the record of Kenny Omega and Okada from Wrestle Kingdom 11, such and such. But then I take you to yesterday, May 4th, when we got Shingo Takagi versus Will Ospreay for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And they had an amazing match. Amazing match. If you want to give it 5 stars, I'd be like, alright, bet. But that match went 46 minutes. Only 2 minutes shy of Kota Ibushi versus Jay White. And I didn't hear not one fan complain about the length of the match. Now, this one fan does not include Joseph Montesillo, who does not really identify as a New Japan fan. But I did not see anybody complaining about the length of this match. So I want to call hypocrisy on a lot of the fans out there. Because if you're going to say that you don't like the length of Ibushi versus Jay White, then same should apply for Ospreay versus Takagi. I don't think that match should have been 48 minutes. Now, I will say that match didn't really feel that much like 46 minutes. As much as the Ibushi and Jay White match felt. But it still was long as hell. Wrestling matches should not be going as long as your average TV show. That is my point about that. I thought they had an amazing match. Will Ospreay is still the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and he will be facing off against Kazuchika Okada in the main event of Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome. And someone asked me on the stream yesterday, who do I think will win that match? And I said I was a bit tied. Not because I want Okada to win, because a lot of you know I don't even like Okada like that. I don't want him to be IWGP champion again. But I floated this story a few weeks ago on the Chillspool podcast. I said that it is entirely possible that New Japan wants to tell the story of doing 3 Ospreay Okada matches in 3 Tokyo Domes in one single year. They did one on January 4th, 2021 at Wrestle Kingdom 15. They're doing one on May 29th in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Grand Slam in Tokyo. And they could possibly, if they want to venture into this route, do one at Wrestle Kingdom 16 with these 2 men. In a way, I don't want it to happen. I'm putting this out to the universe. So if it happens, it's my fault. I will take full blame if this happens. But my idea for how I could see this playing out is that the story being that Ospreay is still in Okada's shadow and that he lost at Wrestle Kingdom because he quote-unquote was not ready. Even though Ospreay won the championship literally 4 months later. He wasn't ready. Okay? That's the story. Ospreay wins the IWGP Heavyweight Championship to prove, yes, Okada, I am ready. I am the champion. I am the guy. And now, to fortify that, to put the icing on the cake, to finalize that I am the ace, I'm going to beat you at Wrestle Grand Slam. And then you can go either way. I think it makes, if that's the story, then I think it even makes more sense for Okada to just beat Ospreay to prove that he isn't ready. The only thing about doing the Okada win is that Ospreay is the heel. And if you're telling that story, that's a very babyface story to tell. Like the story of Ospreay isn't ready, Ospreay isn't the ace, that's not a story that a bad guy should be on the achieving end of. Because you don't want to root for the bad guy. Ospreay is the heel. Okada is the baby. I don't like Okada, but he is the babyface here. So telling that story is kind of, if it doesn't really work. I mean, they're gonna make it work. I'm sure. If they're damned, they will try and make it work. it just doesn't work from a storytelling, creative perspective. I don't really see how that works with Ospreay being the one that has to chase Okada, even though Okada isn't the champion. Yes, Okada technically is chasing the title, but he really isn't, because what did Okada do to get this match outside of beat Shingo? Okada beat Shingo. No, actually, Okada lost to Shingo. Ospreay challenged Okada. Okada really shouldn't even be in this match, if we're being honest. But he got the match because Ospreay wants to prove something to himself. And if he loses, then he definitely didn't prove anything to himself. So let's just say Okada beats Ospreay. And I'm sure this will probably piss some fans off, as it should. But let's say Okada beats Ospreay, right? Okada wins, and then G1 Climax 31 comes around. Well, it makes the most sense for Will Ospreay to make it to the finals. And I'm going to say that Will Ospreay makes it to the finals with Jay White. Jay White goes to the finals once again. Well, he was in the finals last year, but you get the point. He goes to the finals to face Ospreay, and Will Ospreay beats him. So now you're doing Okada as your heavyweight champion, going up against Will Ospreay, who still needs to prove to himself that he can be the ace. And the best way to do it is to beat Okada in the Tokyo Dome for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's a great story to tell. I think actually that's a way better story than whatever we may get out of this. I like that story. The only issue with that story is that Ospreay is a heel. That's the issue with the story. It doesn't make too much sense. Because at that point, if Ospreay loses to Okada, turn him babyface. But you've already established him as the top heel, so it's too late. You kind of can't turn him babyface. So I don't know. In my head, that's how I would do it, but we'll see what happens. If Ospreay beats Okada, I won't be disappointed. He should be beating Ospreay. I mean, he should be beating Okada at the Tokyo Dome. But I feel like they might be heading for a three-parter. Now, if they're not heading for a three-parter and Okada loses to Ospreay, and that's it, okay. Good. That's fine. Next step, give me Ospreay versus Naito, because I'm begging you, New Japan, if there is one single match in your entire company that I want to see, that I have not seen yet, it's Ospreay versus Naito. That's all I want. Then I'll stop watching again. Let me stop. But that's what's going on with New Japan right now. Let's bounce over to something I don't really talk about too much, and that's AAA. AAA just held a show called Reyes de Reyes. Now, if I'm incorrect about the show name, I apologize. But the hashtag was Reyes de Reyes, or Reyes de Reyes. And on that show, who showed up? But none other than free agent, former WWE superstar, Andrade. He showed up on that show, and he set out a challenge to the AAA Mega Champion Kenny Omega at Triple Mania 29. Last year, Triple Mania 28 was held when? When was Triple Mania held? Triple Mania 28. Is that last, December last year? Triple Mania 28 was held in August of last year. Triple Mania 27 was also held in August of 2019. Triple Mania 26, August. Triple Mania 25. So it looks like by the way the Triple Manias happen, August is that prime time for this match to happen. So we can safely assume that within the next 3 months, we'll be getting Andrade versus Kenny Omega for the AAA Championship, which is a dream match of mine. I've personally always wanted to see Kenny Omega and Andrade face off, but I never thought about it up until now, when Andrade became a free agent. And I only thought about that match happening in AEW, because Kenny Omega is barely ever in AAA. But hey, this is one way to get the title off of Kenny Omega, and I would love to see this match. I'm there. I am there. When this show happens, I am there. That much I can tell you. I'm excited as all hell for that match. Andrade is also going to be wrestling in June for a show that's being ran and held by Alberto Del Rio, or Alberto Bertrand, whatever the fuck his name is. This is the same guy who has allegations against him from his girlfriend, who he sexually abused and threatened to drop her kid off in the street. That same scumbag is running a show, so I am very disappointed at Andrade from accepting that booking, and he's going to be facing him. So in that way, I'm not at all happy with Andrade's move there, but I am happy to see he's facing Omega finally. But that's AAA. Let's now go over to MLW. MLW, they recently struck a deal with Vice where they will be airing on Vice TV very, very soon. So they will be on television in the coming weeks or even month. They're actually holding their first show with crowds this coming July at MLW at 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, which I'm planning to attend. So I can't wait to be part of that first crowd show for MLW. I haven't bought a ticket yet, but I'm working things out with my friends because my friends may go as well. But this is also pretty noteworthy things to talk about because apparently WWE is in talks with MLW. Now that's an odd sentence to hear. WWE is in talk with another promotion because whenever I hear that, I think that they're about to buy them out. I'm being honest with yourself. If you ever heard of WWE being in talks with another company, when has that ever resulted in a working relationship that does not result in WWE buying them out and owning them in some way? Please point me to that. You can't, because it just doesn't happen. Whenever they were in talks with WCW, it ended with WWE buying them out. When they were in talks with the UK Indies, Progress, ICW, they bought them out. When they were in talks with WXW in Germany, they bought them out. When they were in talks with Meiko Satomura, they didn't buy Meiko Satomura. They bought Meiko Satomura out. Because now she's in NXT UK. So this is just, But Dave Meltzer reported on this. And he said, he wrote up in his Wrestling Observer newsletter, the idea is to also alleviate the frustration of so many guys on the roster who sign with NXT and then basically are never used, which makes sense, especially now with no NXT house shows, although that may be likely changing soon. The idea is people see AEW having partnerships with New Japan, Impact, AAA, and they want to make it look like WWE is not set in the old ways and uncooperative with the real world. Whether this comes to fruition is a different story, but the mentality right now is to work with other people. Then again, that was also the mentality of the UK and Germany, and that didn't turn out very well. But this is totally this is totally new WWE under Nick Khan. Nick Khan, I believe, is a new head in WWE, and he has a lot of fresh ideas. So we'll be seeing what direction this company is going into. I mean, with Vince there, it won't be going into many new directions, but this is definitely something different than working with a smaller company. But then I go right back to anytime they've worked with somebody smaller, they bought them out. So hopefully this does not result in MLW becoming part of the WWE network. That's what I'm hoping does not happen. Now, if this could be a deal struck, and we start seeing guys like, undercard guys we aren't seeing very often, like a Blake Christian, like a, Alex Zane, like a Christian Casanova. These guys who have been signed months and months ago that we never ever see because NXT signs every indie wrestler under the sun. If we could see these guys in MLW, that would be great. I'd be hyped. I'd be happy for them. I might even start watching MLW. But if that means I have to watch WWE, I have to go to the WWE network to watch it, then well, probably not. Probably not, because I do not want to buy into WWE's ideology of a monopoly. That's not what I'm buying into. I don't like it, so I will not feed into that. But we also get into AEW as well. A few weeks ago, NHL, the National Hockey League, and Turner Sports announced a 7-year media rights deal last week, where the NHL games will air on both TNT and TBS beginning this year. And a lot of those dates people know NHL for are Wednesdays, Thursdays potentially. For weeks, we were questioning what will happen if NHL, takes over on Wednesdays for USA Network and then they get struck a deal with TNT. That's really funny. But now fans are wondering what will happen with AEW, because if this slot goes to the NHL, because I will say this until the day I die, I am a pro wrestling fan through and through. And even though now more than ever my fandom looks bleak, I'm a pro wrestling fan before anything else. I will not ever, ever, ever deny the fact that pro wrestling is the least important sport in the world. When it comes to football, basketball, baseball, hockey, tennis, cricket, curling, anything, they will take precedence over pro wrestling because pro wrestling is not viewed as a sport to the rest of the world. It is viewed as fake to the rest of the world. So when it comes down to it, I think that TNT probably would take precedent and give that time slot to NHL over AEW. But Tony Khan was quick to basically try and say, well, that's not going to happen in his report to Busted Open Radio. He says, I know Wednesday night is our slot and our home. I'm thrilled with our partnership with TNT. It's the lifeblood of our company and our primary revenue source. And that's the way most fans get exposed to AEW and see our show. And tonight and every night we do Dynamite. For a lot of wrestling fans, it's a really important night of the week. So I want everyone to be rest assured, that they're not going to have to worry about these kind of major, we have contract with over 2.5 years left with Wednesday nights in this slot. And if there was ever an opportunity to move, or if there was ever a deal to be had, I would consider it. If we did something, it would have to be a really good deal for AEW that would make sense for us. As it stands right now, that is the spot we're in. If we move, I would certainly consider a deal if there was something in it for AEW. So he basically did not entirely say that we're not going anywhere. He basically said, we're not going anywhere unless I'm offered a big enough money deal. So if AEW was bought out of their contract by TNT to move to Monday nights for, let's say, double or even triple the amount they're making now, I bet you Tony Khan would take that and he would move to Mondays. So this is not confirming that AEW is staying on Wednesdays, in my opinion, because they very well could move. However, once again, I don't know if it's due to NHL or due to NBA, but AEW will be preempted this month. On May 26th would be the go home edition of Double or Nothing. They will be moving to Friday nights at 10 p.m. Friday, May 28th. And the same for the following week. They will be on Friday night at 10 p.m. This may be the 4th or 5th time Dynamite has been moved off of Wednesday nights. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I can't stand this. This is messing with my life. The AEW keeps moving to Wednesday and Friday and to Monday and Tuesday. It is a bit annoying, though, that every few months they get moved. Because Monday Night Raw, to my knowledge, I don't remember them ever getting moved. I don't remember NXT getting moved temporarily and they got moved permanently. So it does end up messing with me because my work schedule, I'm usually off on Wednesday. Usually sometimes I catch Dynamite, but I'm off on Wednesday. And when they get moved to a Friday, then I can't watch Dynamite. So yeah, it messes with me a bit. But if they end up moving permanently to another night, that will probably affect their viewership. I'm going to say right now, if AEW ever gets moved off of Wednesday night, whether it be to Monday night, to Tuesday, it's going to affect their viewership. And probably not in a good way either. So my hoping is that they stay on Wednesdays for the better future of them. And so that way I can catch this company every week live. I asked you guys in the comment section to give me topics to talk about. Originally, my mother was going to be on this episode. She is not. She was very much nervous, and I'm like, fine. One of these days, I'll get her on. I'll try to get her on for a separate video, but I'm not too confident about that going into Mother's Day. But I asked you guys, give me some topics. Jordan Perdomo wanted to talk about Eva Marie. Eva Marie, you could even arguably say, not even arguably, you could even say objectively, one of the worst wrestlers of all time. This is a woman who came into WWE in 2013 as part of the Total Diva series. And she was horrible. She couldn't sell. She could barely move. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. Eva Marie's a beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. But that's all she had to her. She was beautiful. She couldn't wrestle to save her life. And for, what, 3 years? Because I think she left in 2016 or 2017. For 4 years that she was in WWE, she did not improve at all. She may have improved slightly. She may have moved from hot garbage to garbage. That is her improvement. But Eva Marie was always bad. And then she left WWE in 2017. 4 years later in 2021, we actually heard these reports last year that Eva Marie signed a deal with WWE, but she never showed up on Raw or SmackDown. And this Monday on Raw, we got the dreaded segment that the Evolution is coming. And Eva Marie is making her way back to Monday Night Raw. And fans were losing their motherfucking minds on Twitter and YouTube. I can't believe they signed Eva Marie after letting go of Mickie James. And that, like, it is kind of a slap in the face that they let go of Mickie James but signed Eva Marie. That is a slap in the face. Here's what I will say about Eva Marie signing to Monday Night Raw or WWE, whatever the case may be. I don't fucking care. I'm not trying to be rude to you, Jordan, but I don't fucking care because I don't watch Raw or SmackDown. However, Eva Marie was ahead of her time in 2017 because WWE knew that Eva Marie was a terrible wrestler that was never getting better. You could say the same thing about Nia Jax and Dana Brooke. They were bad wrestlers that never improved. Dana Brooke slightly improved, but Nia Jax not so much. Eva Marie never improved whatsoever. They knew this, and in 2017, they took that gimmick and they turned it into a gimmick where she was all looks, all red everything. She got the lavish entrance and now the dashing, everlasting. You guys remember the intro to her theme music. It was a long, drawn out entrance. They gave her the Undertaker entrance, basically. She would get to the ring, and she would be bad. And fans hated this. But WWE knew what they were doing. I'm a firm believer that WWE did that gimmick on purpose. Because if they didn't do that gimmick, why would they keep her? She's terrible. She wasn't even good on the mic, which didn't even save her at all either. But if they're going to run that same gimmick where she's a bad wrestler, then I guess heel heat is very much deserved and very well earned. Because she's doing exactly what wrestling fans hate. Not being good at her job. Isn't that what you guys want? A true heel? Eva Marie's a true heel. So. Oh, God. Oh, my God. What am I doing? Anyway. Now that we're done talking about Eva Marie. Parkster 00. He asked me, hey, I'm new to New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom. I was curious where would be a good place to start with Stardom because I love your channel. Keep it up. So he is trying to get into New Japan and Stardom. He asked about Stardom, but he said New Japan as well. So, Parkster 0000. Welcome, man. Thank you for coming over to the channel, subscribing. I appreciate you very much. As far as Stardom goes, where to start, 2 channels you should check out. The first being Strokovich Okametal. That is StrokaVichOkmetal. Strokovich Okametal. His channel is very much all dedicated to Stardom. Stardom reviews. He does little statistics on Stardom wrestlers. I very much love and appreciate his channel. I keep myself up to date on a lot of Stardom stats, win-loss records. He does it all. He even has a guide for the 2021 Stardom roster, which I think you should check out. I might link it in the description or link it in the comment section. Check it out. And once you're done checking him out, go check out Pulse. 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. Very much a very integral part of my childhood watching pro wrestling video games growing up. He's a very big Joshi fan. And he has some Stardom reviews up on his channel as well. I would say check him out next. Once you're done that, and you want to get right into Stardom, go to Stardom World, subscribe. I don't know how easy. No, I know it was very difficult for me to subscribe. Hopefully it's easier for you to subscribe than it was for me. And the first show you should watch is Stardom All-Star Dream Cinderella that happened this February. That, in my opinion, is the greatest show Stardom has ever put on. Top to bottom, it was an amazing show. It's not an introductory show. I don't think every new fan will get, a new fresh coat of paint on every single wrestler. There will be some wrestlers you see one time and you're like, I don't know how to feel about them. But I think there's so many great matches on that show. You'll get acquainted to people like Azumi, Natsupoi, Tam Nakano, Julia. I'm not even telling you watch certain matches. Watch that whole show. It's a 3-4 hour show, but it is amazing. It is the best women's show you may ever watch in your entire life. That's not, All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling. So start with All-Star Dream Cinderella and go from there. You don't have to watch every single Stardom show, because I don't watch every single Stardom show. You can pick and choose. If you go to Stardom World right now, I'll go to the website just for example. Go to StardomWorld.com, and they give you listings of each show they have that year. You can go to certain shows like Yokohama Dream Cinderella, and you can literally pick matches individually to watch. You can pick the full show, which I recommend, or watch matches individually. Go to these shows, not specifically Yokohama, but go to the shows, click on them, and just look for matches you might be interested in. I click on Yokohama Dream Cinderella. I'm very much interested in seeing Tam Nakano versus Natsupoi. Watch those matches and get invested, because the way I got invested in Stardom was in 2019. There was this woman, God rest her soul, named Hana Kimura. I saw her iconic pink hair on Twitter or somewhere, and I was drawn in. And I'm like, I want to see her match. I saw her match, and I was immediately drawn into what was going on with her. And through that, there was this YouTuber. I forgot his name, not gonna lie, but he used to post Stardom videos illegally. But he posted Stardom videos, and every night I would watch one Stardom match and go to sleep. And through that method, I kind of got drawn in and basically invested in Stardom's promotion from 2019 onwards. I got hooked in by Hana Kimura and Arisa Hoshiki. Both women no longer wrestle for the promotion, but if there's 5 women that you, in my opinion, should keep your eye out on and seek out their matches, in no particular order: Tam Nakano, who is currently the Wonder of Stardom champion; Azumi, who's currently part of Queen's Quest; Natsupoi, who is currently part of Donald Amondo; Saya Kamatani, who is currently part of Queen's Quest alongside Azumi; and Mayu Iwatani, who I would say is technically still the ace of Stardom. She's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, is Mayu Iwatani. Those 5 women I just named to you are the bread and butter of Stardom's in-ring competition. Watch those 5 women wrestle, and you will get drawn in. You will get invested. And as far as New Japan Pro Wrestling goes, I'm not that invested in New Japan as I used to be. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I don't really care too much for New Japan right now. But if you're a newer fan trying to get into it, I will definitely teach you how. Wrestle Kingdom 15 just happened in January. Always a good place to start is the latest Wrestle Kingdom show. Once Wrestle Kingdom's over, you do not have to watch Road 2 shows. Now, if you're a newer fan, watch them to get more acquainted with the stars and how the style works. But you do not have to watch the Road 2 shows. You can just watch their bigger shows that happen. They have at least 1 or 2 big shows that happen every single month. For January, it's Wrestle Kingdom. For February, it's the New Beginning Tour. For March, it's New Japan Cup. For April, it's Wrestling Dantaku. Well, April, it's I think, just a Road 2 day, Road 2 show, Road 2 tour. I can't speak. May is Wrestling Dantaku. June is Dominion. May is also the Best of the Super Juniors, but that didn't happen this year because it just happened in December. But May is also Best of the Super Juniors, which is a junior heavyweight round robin tournament. June is Dominion. July and August is the G1 Climax, which I highly recommend. A round robin tournament, which you would love. After that is the Destruction Tour in September. In October is King of Pro Wrestling. In November is Power Struggle. In December is the World Tag League. Those by month are what you should check out. And if I can name you 5 wrestlers that you should check out as far as New Japan goes right now: Kota Ibushi, Will Ospreay, Hiromu Takahashi when he comes back, Jay White, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. If this was 2018, 2017, even 2019, I would have recommended Okada, and you will hear a lot about Kazuchika Okada and how amazing he is. But I will tell you right now, Okada right now in his current state, he is not good. He is not as good as he used to be, which is why I can't recommend Okada matches to you. Oh, if I could throw a 6th person in there, throw in Shingo Takagi. Invest in those guys, watch their matches, watch those shows, And you will know if you want to keep watching these shows or not. But that's how you would get into Stardom and New Japan, in my opinion. I might have to make this a separate video for people who want to get into those products. I might have to. And lastly, Mason Rawleyson said Tessa is headed to AEW. And I saw reports that Tessa is also not headed to AEW. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if she is or isn't. But if she is, bleh, disgusting. I don't want to get too deep into Tessa Blanchard, honestly. AEW Blood and Guts is tonight. I will not be watching live, sadly, because I have to work. I had a scheduling conflict issue that I have to get resolved when I go to work today. So hopefully all is well. I'm fucking mad at my manager. But that's besides the point. Blood and Guts is tonight. I'll figure I'll give a preview to end out this podcast. Britt Baker will be in action. No word on who she's facing, but she's in action. She will likely win, and that should officially set up Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing, which Britt Baker should win the title from Shida at that point. Also in that show, we have SCU, Christopher Daniels and Frank Kazarian, versus Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, versus the Varsity Blondes, Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr., versus the Acclaimed of Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Anthony Bowens is back from injury. Happy to see him. This is a tag team eliminator shot match. Winner of this match likely will get a title match at Double or Nothing. Because SCU still has the storyline going where if they lose a match, they will basically split up. I'm going to say that they win this match and that they lose against the Young Bucks at the next show. We also have Cody Rhodes returning from his hiatus that lasted a month. Could have been longer. Versus QT Marshall. QT Marshall turned heel 2 months ago and has been running this storyline against the Nightmare Family, where he created his own sub-faction called The Factory with Caveman, Nick Comoroto, Aaron Solo, and Anthony Ogogo. There's another guy mixed in it, I forgot his name. But that's basically his faction. Cody Rhodes is now back and he is attacking QT Marshall. The Nightmare Family versus The Factory continues. I was surprised this didn't happen at Double or Nothing. This very, very well still may happen at Double or Nothing, but it's happening here. I'm going to say QT Marshall wins. However, it's Cody Rhodes. I wouldn't put it past him. But I think if they want to extend this out to Double or Nothing, QT wins. If this ends here, Cody wins. But I'm going to say QT wins and just look like an idiot at the end of the night. Kenny Omega and MT Nakazawa versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. This was made last week when Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston had Kenny Omega on the ground with his ankle wrapped around a chair and threatened to stomp on it unless Don Callis gave them what they want. And what they wanted was a tag team match against Kenny Omega and MT Nakazawa. Not a title match, not a tag team title match, but a tag team match against Kenny Omega and MT Nakazawa. I'm a little bit dazzled as you are. But this match is happening. I'm going to give something very bold here. And I'm going to say, and this is my booking cap, so this may not even happen. But I'm going to say that Jon Moxley hits a Death Rider onto Kenny Omega. And he goes for the pin. Or I don't know how this happens. Maybe Kenny Omega, maybe Jon Moxley's in a corner. Eddie Kingston blind tags himself in. Moxley hits the Death Rider, goes for the pin. Eddie Kingston pulls him off and pins Kenny Omega. And then people are wondering, oh, wait a minute. And it kind of it builds up this rift because even though I love the pairing of Moxley and Eddie Kingston, there's a detail in their story that you guys should never forget. And that's that Eddie Kingston, even though he is friends with Jon Moxley now, he is very much still driven by wanting that AEW championship. And that he said in that first promo these guys had together that the championship does weird things to you. And it clouded his judgment with Jon Moxley. And I think that should come back. I think that when it comes to who should face Kenny Omega, Eddie Kingston should put himself first. He shouldn't be like, oh, I want my best friend Jon Moxley to hold it. No. I think Eddie Kingston should put himself first and go ahead of Jon Moxley. And maybe that causes some issues. And then, because it looks like they're still in this direction of Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, which this feud should be over, I think they should do Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston triple threat match at Double or Nothing. If they're not doing that match, I don't know what the fuck they're doing at Double or Nothing, because they haven't been building up Hangman to face him since he lost to Brian Cage. They aren't building up Christian, right, to face Kenny Omega. They aren't building up Matt Sydal because he lost. It's like, I don't know what the hell they're doing with Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing. The only direction I see right now is Jon Moxley or Eddie Kingston. I think it's a triple threat. So I think Eddie Kingston should pin Kenny Omega. And if not, MT gets the pin. MT, oh no. He gets pinned, which doesn't really add on to anything. But lastly is the Blood and Guts match. 2 men enter in a 2-ring double cage match. Much like, the War Games match in NXT. It basically is the NXT War Games match. 2 men enter in for the start of 5 minutes. And every 2 minutes in, another team member will enter until all 10 men are in the ring. Match can only end via submission or surrender. Sammy Guevara has chosen to enter the match first. Why? I don't know. Dumb on his end, but he's entered the match first. But this match will be a 5-on-5. You have the Inner Circle: Santana, Ortiz, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, and Chris Jericho versus the Pinnacle: Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, and MJF. This is Blood and Guts. Unless they're doing another Stadium Stampede match at Double or Nothing, this most likely should be the end of the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle feud. And if this is the case, the Pinnacle should win. The Pinnacle should win because they're the new faction. Now, what does that mean for the Inner Circle? Them losing this match? What do you do with them? I'm not too sure where they go if they lose this match. Once they lose this match, because I think they are. Once the Inner Circle loses, I'm not sure where they go. I'm not sure if they break up for a bit. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe a mutual separation for a little bit. Santana and Ortiz do their tag team thing. Sammy Guevara does his singles act. And then Chris Jericho and Jake Hager do a tag team. Maybe it might be best for them to just separate amicably for a bit. I think that might be for the best. So yeah, I'll go with the Pinnacle wins. And then the Inner Circle will mutually separate. Not a breakup, but mutual separation, and then maybe a few months down the road, they'll reunite for another feud. But guys, next week, Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata for the IWGP US Championship. That's going to fuck so hard. I can't wait. We'll talk more about it next week, though. Thank you guys all for tuning in to this, the 45th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there who are listening to this podcast, which is nobody. But happy Mother's Day to all your mothers out there and my own. And guys, I will see you all next week for the 46th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. Peace out, guys.